Yeah, so I just want to give a little bit of context before I start this video. So this podcast is something I made in grade 10 is in the title, maybe, probably. So it was in a final performance task where 15% my mark. I think I got like a 92 on it or something like that. 93, I remember that mark. So, uh, yeah, so basically the assignment was to make a podcast and it could be on whatever you wanted. So of course I chose the Rubik's Cube because I already was like knowledgeable about this and I knew a lot about it already, so it was easy. So what I did was just that you'll hear it. So the thing is, you'll hear an ad in the beginning, and I think the end as well. So because that was like required in the assignment. So yeah, that's just the context. And anyways, here's the clip.
Welcome, everybody, to the first ever episode of a Peek Inside podcast, where we look into the history and popularity of events, places, and items. On today's episode, we will talk about a toy that's seen in many homes around the world because of its extreme complexity, the Rubik's Cube. But first, a quick message from our sponsor, Rubik's. Ever heard of the Rubik's Cube? It's a fun puzzle with so many combinations it'll start to twist your brain. Once you pick one up, you won't be able to put it down. Just try to get all the sides with the right color. It'll be a real challenge in the end. The more you turn, the more you realize it's much, much harder than it looks. And we are back. I'm sure you'll want to know who made the cube, so let's talk about him. In 1974, Erno Rubik, a Hungarian architecture professor, decided he wanted a new teaching tool for his students. So he came up with the idea to make a rotating puzzle cube, which he called the Magic Cube. The original one was made out of 27 wood blocks that rotated on 6 centers. Rubik then shuffled the cube and realized it was not as easy as he thought it'd be to solve. He ended up spending 1 month figuring out a solution to the puzzle. After figuring it out, he decided he wanted to sell it. So in 1977, he got a Hungarian toy company to make 5,000 copies. These copies were then sold in Hungarian toy shops. He managed to sell 300,000 Magic Cubes. Later, in 1980, Rubik traveled overseas to New York, where he showed Ideal Toys, an American toy company, his idea. They were intrigued by the idea, so much so that they decided they wanted to sell 1 million of them. After 2 years of selling millions upon millions of copies, Ideal Toys fell out of business and was sold to CBS for 58 million. However, the brand Rubik's itself is currently owned by Spin Master Games, a Canadian company. And that just about does it for the history of the Rubik's Cube. Now, onto most people's favorite part, the world records. The first ever world record was set by Min Thai from the US in 1982, with a time of 22.95 seconds. And now, over 40 years later, the world record has dropped by an astounding 19.48 seconds, sitting at an incredible 3.47 seconds. This world record is set by Yu Shengdu from China in 2018. Although single solves are impressive, average solves are even more impressive as you have to continuously get very good times. How averages work is you have 5 solves, and the worst solve and the best solve get cut out of the average, and the remaining 3 are averaged. Currently, the world record average is 4.86 seconds, held by Max Park and Timon Kolosinski, which is quite a coincidence, don't you think? Both of them have the exact same world record, and they were both set in close proximity to each other. Even with all these records, if you were to look at the sheet from the beginning, one name will continuously pop up, and that name is Felix Zemdegs, a legendary man from Melbourne, Australia, who holds 121 world records across many categories. Along with this, he was the first person to ever break the 7 and 6 second barrier. He is also the only person to win the WCA, World Cube Association, World Championships twice in a row. This is predicted to never happen again in the history of cubing. The ones he won was in Worlds 2013 and 2015. His current fastest time in competition stands at 4.22 seconds, which he set back in 2018. Some people think that the cube matters for a fast time, and it does to an extent. However, if you have some $15 cube that has magnets in it, it'll do you real good. Now, onto cube design. Over the years, cube design has gotten much better, especially with all the innovations over the past 10 years. Magnets, which is a very big part of all the innovations, were added to the pieces so that when you turn, the side you're turning doesn't move past where you want it to go. There are two very big companies that make cubes, GAN and Moyu. Both make incredible cubes. Moyu makes affordable, while still great performing cubes, while GAN innovates using magnets like never seen before in any other company. GAN is usually called the Apple of speed cubing because they have some obscene prices, spiking with the newest one going to $100 Canadian. Now onto something I'm sure you're all very curious about, how to actually solve the Rubik's Cube. Now I want you to imagine you're holding one. The cube has 3 layers and each layer has 3 pieces. The reason I ask you to visualize the layers is because that is how you solve the cube itself. You go layer by layer, not side by side or some other kind of method. You have to go layer by layer, solving each color or each layer at a time. Now I won't be covering each single step because that would make this episode much longer than it needs to be. Anyway, I will now go into our final sponsor, Spotify. Get Spotify Premium for 3 months for only $9.99 if you visit our website right now. This deal won't last long, so make sure you're quick on getting to it. And now with that out of the way, I hope you've learned a lot about the history and popularity and all the people related to cubing, all the world records over the years, and just, well, a lot about cubing. And with that, I will see you guys on the next episode of A Peek Inside. Goodbye.